everybody, it's Eric Hoppenfuss. It's Friday, so it must be a buy day, and today we're continuing our series of Eric's favorite spaces at the Scholar. And today we are at the Little Scholar to talk about children's books, which is one of our passions and one of the areas of the bookstore that I like the most. And it's one that you might miss, actually, if you haven't had a chance to really fully explore this Scholar. We're actually in the building next to the main building of the bookstore. You have to go in, if you pan around, Amanda, you have to go in by the bakery. And then, once you leave the main store building, you will find the Little Scholar. Now, we have covered the walls in not one, but two murals. And they're both by incredible children's book illustrators based here in Harrisburg that were commissioned specifically for the space. This one was by Jonathan Bean, and if you haven't seen Jonathan Bean's work, you'll have to come to the Scholar and get some of it. But he has some wonderful picture books, and we're sort of in the picture book area of the Scholar. But I'm going to take you back to my favorite spot, which is actually for the slightly older readers, well, the same readers that enjoy Dogman. Do you think we have enough Dogman?
No, I think we are missing some.
I am not sure about that, but if you come back through here and you watch your step, you come into a special space in the Scholar, which is just a wonderful, wonderful spot. And it has been decorated, and the mural and the designs all come from our friend Lauren Castillo, who is the author of our friend Hedgehog. Let's show the latest, well, at least the Hedgehog book that I can get right here, A Place to Call Home. And there's our friend Hedgehog as well in the mural. Now, this area here, which we turned into a hut, a reading hut for young kids, actually is not only kid-friendly, but apparently it's dog-friendly. Do you have proof of this, Amanda?
I do. She's my neighbor. Her name is Goose.
Okay, well, Goose likes it and others do as well. But this here is actually, this was originally the steps leading up to the apartments up above. And so we sort of, instead of just having it be one side, we sort of made it look like the roof of a house, but you can hear people walking upstairs to the apartments occasionally. And we also had these large windows. Do you know why there's such large windows in this room? Because back at the turn of the century, 1900, this used to be a department store, and they wanted a lot of natural light to sell the clothing. They sold dresses, fancy dresses. It was called Robinson's, and if you look at the building from the outside today, it still says Robinson's on the top, which is pretty neat. But in the windows, we've put Hedgehog and Hedgehog's friends, and I really want to give another shout out to Lauren Castillo because she is amazing, and you can get her books here as well as all the classic books that you could possibly want. And that brings us to our collection of vintage children's books, which I wanted to share with you here today, including a new section that we're going to inaugurate here today, which you can come in and see, which doesn't exist yet, but is really exciting, which is going to be devoted to pop-up books. Ooh. And pop-up books are really good, but they're fragile. So we have to put them in a case, and we're getting that case developed, and it's going to be really, really cool here soon. But let's get to the book, shall we? All right, now. It's a bit of an echo because I'm in a hut, but we're going to open it up, and I'm going to tell you right now, Amanda, that I have 3 books by an American artist by the name of Peter Newell. You may not have heard of Peter Newell, but he is my favorite illustrator from 100 years ago of children's books. And I was able to read some of these books growing up, and I know that people who did really cherish it. But if you've never heard of Peter Newell, he was ahead of his time. Completely ahead of his time, and he developed a whole series of books, and I have all 3, and they all came into the Scholar from a bookseller friend of ours in Kennett Square. And they are very simply titled, and this one is titled The Whole Book. And it's titled The Whole Book because there's a hole that goes all the way through the book and becomes the theme. And I have to say, it is based on a story which would not be written today for children. So with that disclaimer, let's turn to the exciting first page. The Whole Book by Peter Newell. What causes the hole, I think, is the question. And yes, there it is. Tom Potts was fooling with a gun. Now, that's where we do not recommend that. Such folly should not be. When bang, the pesky thing went off most unexpectedly. Tom didn't know 'twas loaded, and it scared him most to death. He tumbled flat upon the floor and fairly gasped for breath. Now, what I love, hole. It's a real hole. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It goes all the way through the book. This was completely inventive at the time. Yeah. Now, today, maybe there's been some things that have taken off. But he basically shoots the bullet. Again, we're not, this is not sanctioned. And then it keeps going. It goes throughout the house. It smashes the boiler. It almost hits the girls on the playground. It causes a little bit of an explosion when it hits the gas tank of the car. It messes up the artist studio. It's just whimsical and funny and really, really interesting. And I love it. Also, you got to like the colors and just everything about it. The mice come out. I could keep reading you more, but I'm going to take you to the end, because in the end, quite happily, Miss Newlywed has made a cake with icings good and stout. The bullet struck the armor belt and meekly flattened out. And this was lucky for Tom Potts, the boy who fired the shot. It might have gone clean round the world and killed him on the spot. So, what a great book. All right. Now, how do you follow up a book like The Whole Book, which, by the way, is no longer in print today for shocking reasons? Any idea, Amanda?
I don't know.
What would you do if you were trying? Okay, you create a book called The Slant Book. And this is great, too, because this book, also possibly not published today and not sanctioned, is about a nanny who goes out on a walk with the pram and accidentally lets go. Where Bobby lives, there is a hill so steep and high, 'twould fill the bill for Jack and Jill, their famous act to try. Do not let go of the pram. The pram goes flying off, and the baby, starts hitting people, police officers, others. We're going to keep going. Knocks over the newspaper boy. The baby's having a wonderful, wonderful time. There's a lot of danger. Hits some people. Aren't these illustrations great?
Yeah, awesome.
And so the slant of the book is sort of, imitating the slant of the ride. And then basically we get to the end, and what do you think happens, Amanda?
I don't know.
Well, the longest night must have an end, as well as a beginning, and so this cart, you may depend, was bound to cease its spinning. It crashed into a hemlock stump, then chanced to block its way, and Bobby made a flying jump and landed in the hay. Poor Bobby.
Happy ending.
All right. But Peter Newell was not done. Peter Newell had one more work in him. And again, it's very rare to get them all together, so I'm going to sell these three as a set, and you'll know why. And basically, he started reading those sci-fi books, especially Moon Metal and all these other types. I don't know if you read Moon Metal, but he started reading sci-fi. And what does he do? How does he follow it up? He follows it up with his third book, The Rocket Book.
Whoa!
And like The Whole Book, it's basically The Whole Book except with a rocket. And it starts. What's brilliant about this book is it's in an apartment building, and it starts in the basement of the apartment building, and it goes floor by floor, causing damage. When Fritz, the janitor's bad kid, went snooping in the basement, he found a rocket snugly hid beneath the window casement. He struck a match with one fell swoop, then on the concrete kneeling, he lit the rocket, and it shot up through the ceiling. And then it goes basically through each apartment. Yeah. Now, nobody is actually injured. But again, you have an actual hole in the book, which I think is pretty remarkable. Yeah. Third flat, fourth flat, keeps going, causing all sorts of problems. What do you think happens to the rocket, Amanda?
I think it makes it to space.
Well, it doesn't actually. I'm sorry. Oh, it was just a splendid flight. The rocket's wild clear, but an end it came all right. And you shall straightway hear the top flat. It plunged into a can of cream. The billy bunk was freezing and froze quite stiff as it would seem, and so subsided wheezing. And again, no one was harmed in the book. Now, what I like about these books are that they were very inventive, very original, wonderful. We've got them at the Scholar. You can share them today. They're all out of print. But what's not out of print are the people who have tried to copy. Like, look at this book. It's just a complete and utter
rip-off.
It's a complete rip-off. Tilt, the story. Who wants to read The Leaning Tower of Pisa? You want to read about a runaway pram, but it's a rip-off. So people have ripped them off, but not really. And I wanted to end with an ode to our new case that's coming here, which is going to be a pop-up books. I don't know, do you have a favorite pop-up book artist?
Oh, I don't know.
Usually people will say Robert Sabuda. And he is an amazing engineer who just does these incredible books. This one's actually signed by Robert Sabuda, and it'll be in the case. But he is credited with perhaps the most famous and I think best reviewed pop-up book of all time. And we see this at book sales a lot. And if you haven't seen it, you really need to get yourself a copy of Subuta's Wizard of Oz, because it is powerful, powerful stuff. It takes you all throughout the area, including to the Emerald City. Let me get you to the Emerald City. And when you get to the Emerald City, you put on your emerald glasses. Let's see if we can put those. Yeah, go ahead. So you can put those over the filter, please.
Here we go.
Oh yes.
Wow.
Oh yes, and it's also a book within a book, because each of the sides has more. It's an incredible thing. So pop-up books. Robert Subuta, a new section at the Scholar. That's right, we are still growing. We are still creating new things. Come see our pop-up books here soon. And we're going to end with a funny book. You ready to end with a funny book?
All right.
This is one of my very favorite books. And I have to say, I found this book at the Scholar counter, so I didn't have to go very far for it. But it's really good.
Yeah.
It's P is for Pterodactyl, which is the worst. It is truly the worst alphabet book ever. And have you looked at this book?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. So here are some of my favorites. I really like E is for you. That's just funny in and of itself.
It's very helpful.
And then it even helps you learn the E sounds by saying, Eileen, the U was so euphoric. The wolves were eaten. She even gave them the eulogy. That's very useful.
Yeah.
I also like G is for Noki. The gnome yells, waiter, there's a bright white gnat nibbling on my Noki. And then this one's just pure brilliance. How about Q is for quinoa.
Yep.
I mean, that's just great. We can enjoy quinoa and quiche by the keys of Qatar. Oh, come on. That's great. So P is for Pterodactyl. If you want a book that will confuse you about the English language, but delight and really entertain children, then it's definitely P is for Pterodactyl. Well, thanks for watching. Now, I hope you watch next week and every week for more adventures in the book trade. And next week, I'm going to take you to yet a third of my favorite spaces at the Midtown Scholar.